Have you ever wondered what happens while you sleep? When the lights are off, the world is silent, and even your thoughts begin to fade. Most people think that the night is just a pause, a break between the exhaustion of one day and the challenges of the next. But what if I told you that while you rest, heaven is awake? What if the quiet hours of the night are not empty, but filled with divine activity? You see, there's a kind of healing that doesn't come with noise or drama. It doesn't need a doctor's report or a preacher's shout. It happens in the stillness, in the silence of your room, in the softness of your breath. In that moment when you stop trying to control everything and simply rest in faith. God doesn't need daylight to do miracles. He doesn't need your strength to restore you. Sometimes his most powerful work happens while you're completely unaware, asleep in his peace. Tonight, I want to talk to you about that kind of healing. The healing that happens while you sleep, the miracle that takes place in silence, the night when God himself becomes your healer. That the power of rest in God's presence is not merely about closing your eyes at the end of a long day. It's about laying your soul down in complete trust. It's the moment when you stop striving, stop reasoning, stop trying to figure out what only God can work out. You see, real rest begins when faith replaces control. The body may be tired, but the spirit must learn to be still before the one who gives true peace. When you lie down and surrender your thoughts, your fears, your pains, and your unfinished battles to God, you're making a statement of faith that says, I trust you to handle what I cannot. That's where healing begins, not in the noise of constant effort, but in the stillness of surrender. Resting in God's presence is more than sleep. It's divine cooperation. It's saying, God, while I rest, you work. Many people struggle through sleepless nights because they try to carry what only heaven can lift. They replay situations in their minds. They plan and overthink, and they let worry become their companion in the dark. But when you learn to rest in God's presence, you hand over the burden. You allow his peace to replace your pressure. You give him the space to do what you've been too restless to let him do. In those quiet hours, while the world is silent and the night is deep, God begins to mend what's broken, not just in your body, but in your soul. In the stillness of rest, your spirit is refreshed. Your mind stops fighting, your heart slows down, and your body begins to heal because your faith has found calm. The presence of God brings restoration on levels that medicine, effort, or willpower cannot reach. He doesn't need your energy to heal you. He needs your surrender. When you release control and trust his process, something divine happens. The stress that tightens your chest begins to fade. The heaviness that clouds your thoughts begins to lift. Healing is not only physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and mental. And when you rest in his presence, every part of you comes under his touch. There is something sacred about the night. The distractions are gone. The noise of the world is quiet. And all that remains is you and God. That's when his voice can reach deeper into your heart. He doesn't shout over chaos. He whispers into stillness. When you rest in him, you're allowing his peace to surround you like a blanket. The atmosphere of his presence becomes a spiritual environment where healing thrives. It's like soil that nourishes a seed in silence. You don't see it growing, but something is happening beneath the surface. That's how God works while you rest. Every act of true rest is a declaration of faith. It's telling God, I believe you're working even when I can't see it. It's believing that your body, mind, and spirit can be renewed because his power never sleeps. And as you sleep in that faith, he releases strength into your body, clarity into your thoughts, and calm into your emotions. He restores cells. He balances the mind, and he heals wounds that you didn't even know were still open. The night becomes holy because his presence turns it into a sanctuary of healing. To rest in God's presence is to stop fighting battles that are not yours to win. It's choosing to let his peace rule instead of your fears. It's trusting that while you close your eyes, the same God who never slumbers is working things out for your good. He's fixing, aligning, restoring, and strengthening you in ways you cannot imagine. The power of rest is not in the sleep itself, but in the trust that fuels it. When you rest in faith, you allow heaven to move. God does more in one night of surrendered rest than you could do in a lifetime of worry. God works in the stillness, in the quiet places where human effort fades and his power takes over. Many people think that when God moves, it must be loud, visible, and dramatic. They expect thunder, miracles they can see, and moments that shake the ground. But God's greatest works often happen in silence. He does not always need the noise of the crowd or the energy of a storm to bring change. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, when your heart is still and your mind has stopped running, that he moves most powerfully. He is not absent in the quiet. He is present in it. He speaks in whispers that the restless heart cannot hear. When everything around you grows silent, you begin to notice the soft rhythm of his presence. The same God who calmed the sea does not need to shout to bring peace. His very presence carries authority. It is in the stillness that his healing begins to flow. When the noise of life dies down, your spirit becomes sensitive to his touch. The distractions that once blinded you are removed, and your soul becomes open to the move of the divine. The silence of the night is not emptiness. It's the space where heaven meets earth, where God works unseen. When you lie in bed and your body relaxes after a long day, there's something sacred about that quiet moment. The world outside may be asleep, but heaven is not. God's Spirit is active, mending what's been broken in you, renewing what's been weakened, and restoring what's been lost. You might not hear anything, you might not feel anything, but his hands are at work in ways your senses cannot detect. Healing does not always come with fireworks or feelings. Sometimes it comes in the unseen, gentle flow of divine peace. God is a master of silent transformation. He reshapes your heart, repairs your body, and renews your faith without fanfare or sound. In the silence of the night, God rebuilds what the day has worn down. Every thought, every worry, every pain that has drained you during the day begins to lose its grip. He moves like the wind, unseen, but powerful enough to shift everything in your life. When you quiet your heart and trust him in that stillness, his peace starts to wash over you. It's not the peace that the world gives, temporary or shallow. It's the peace that surpasses understanding. It's the kind of peace that heals without words, the kind that speaks to your body and tells it to rest, speaks to your heart and tells it to hope, speaks to your spirit and tells it to trust again. God's silence is not his absence. It's his strategy. He moves without needing to announce himself because his power doesn't require attention to be real. In the quiet hours when no one sees, he writes new beginnings into your story. He breathes life into dead areas of your soul. He restores broken dreams and renews the strength that's been fading. You may wake up and not even realize how much he's done while you slept, but your peace will tell you, your energy will confirm it, and your renewed faith will testify that something divine took place. The stillness is his workshop. That's where he molds you, strengthens you, and prepares you for what's coming. The silence of God is full of movement, full of purpose, full of healing. It is not empty, it's sacred. When you stop striving and simply rest, you give him room to operate. While the world is silent, heaven is working. While you rest, God restores. While you sleep, he heals. It's not always in the loud moments that he reveals his power, but in the quiet ones where he proves his love. Faith beyond conscious effort is one of the most powerful truths a believer can understand. It means that faith is not limited to your awareness emotions, or mental focus. It's not something that switches off when you fall asleep or fades when you're tired. Faith is spiritual, not mental. It's alive in your spirit, and the spirit never sleeps. Even when your body rests, your faith continues to speak, continues to believe, continues to hold on to the promises of God. That's why healing can happen in the night, while you sleep, when your mind is quiet and your heart is resting in trust. Faith does not depend on your physical actions. It depends on the power of God responding to a heart that believes. There are moments in life when you feel too weak to pray, too tired to confess, too drained to fight. But your faith is still working. The faith that was planted in your heart by the Word of God doesn't vanish when you stop talking. It's alive, like a seed growing underground, doing its work in hidden places. That's why God tells us to hold His Word in our hearts. When you've believed His promise, that belief continues to operate even when your conscious mind is at rest. The words of faith you've spoken during the day become living forces that keep working through the night. God doesn't need your constant effort to heal you. He needs your faith to remain rooted. Faith beyond effort is what separates trust from striving. It's not about trying to make something happen. It's about resting in the assurance that God is already making it happen. The same way your heart beats without your command and your lungs breathe without your focus, faith functions from the Spirit without needing constant attention. When your mind releases control and your spirit takes over, you step into the flow of divine power. That's when healing comes, not because you pushed for it, but because you believed and rested in it. God honors that kind of faith, the faith that says, even when I'm asleep, I trust you're still working. In the stillness of the night, while your thoughts have ceased their noise, faith speaks quietly before the throne of God. It doesn't shout, it stands firm. It doesn't demand, it believes. That silent confidence in God's promise is what allows healing to take place beyond your awareness. The Spirit of God knows how to work with the faith inside you, guiding it, empowering it, and using it to bring restoration to your body and peace to your mind. The human mind may grow weary, but faith never grows tired because it draws its strength from God Himself. Many people believe they need to do more to make faith work, but the truth is faith works best when you stop doing and start trusting. The greatest proof of faith is rest. Rest from worry, rest from striving, rest from fear. When you lie down in faith, you are saying to God, I know you've got this. That surrender opens the door for miracles. You may go to sleep burdened, but when you wake, you realize the burden has lifted, the pain has eased, and the peace of God has settled over you. That is faith working beyond effort. Faith beyond conscious effort is a partnership between your spirit and God's power. It doesn't wait for your permission every moment. It keeps functioning because it's anchored in truth. What you believe during the day continues to echo through the night. While you rest, your faith keeps pulling on the promises of heaven. Healing doesn't require your awareness. It requires your agreement. Once you've agreed with God's word, faith goes to work. Even when you're unaware, even when you're silent, even when you're asleep, your faith is alive, moving mountains in the unseen and calling forth the healing that God has already provided. The night is not merely a time for sleep. It is a sacred hour when heaven draws near and the soul finds space to breathe. When the sun sets and the world begins to quiet, something holy fills the air. The noise of the day fades, the demands of life pause, and the spirit becomes more sensitive to the whispers of God. In that calm, healing begins to flow, not through effort or emotion, but through the silent exchange between the Creator and the created. The night was never meant to be feared or filled with anxiety. It was designed to be a sanctuary, a place where the presence of God can work unhindered by the distractions of the day. During the day, your mind is filled with responsibilities, conversations, and the constant motion of life. Your heart is pulled in many directions, and your attention is divided. But at night, when everything slows down, your soul has room to listen. It's in those quiet hours that God's presence becomes tangible. He doesn't need noise to move. His voice is clearest in silence. The darkness of the night is not the absence of His light. It's the backdrop against which His presence shines brightest. The stillness of night allows your faith to breathe. It's when all external sound fades that you can finally hear the soft rhythm of His peace inside you. The night has always carried a spiritual meaning throughout history. Many of God's most powerful encounters happen in the dark. Jacob wrestled with an angel until the dawn. Samuel heard God's voice calling in the night. Paul and Silas sang praises in the midnight hour, and the prison doors opened. The stillness of the night has always been the moment where faith becomes intimate, where heaven seems closer, and where divine power moves quietly but surely. It's in that sacred stillness that God does what no medicine or reasoning can do. He repairs what the day has damaged. He soothes the mind that has been troubled, and He brings rest to the soul that's been weary. In the still night, your spirit is free from distraction, and your heart becomes open to the presence of God. The body rests, but the soul communes. Healing often takes place when you stop striving to make it happen. The night teaches you that sometimes all you need to do is be still. The peace of God does not come through noise or activity. It comes through surrender. When the world sleeps, God whispers, "Be still and know that I am God." That's when the divine touch flows freely, not resisted by business or fear. Your breathing slows, your muscles relax, and your mind releases its grip on the day. In that softness, the Spirit of God moves through every part of your being, bringing calm, comfort, and restoration. Nighttime is God's gentle reminder that He is in control even when you're not. The stars above declare His glory. The moon lights the path of His faithfulness, and the silence around you testifies of His unchanging peace. In the sacred quiet, you can feel His nearness, not through sight or sound, but through stillness. Healing in the night is not an accident, it's divine intention. When you rest in faith, heaven goes to work. The night becomes holy ground, the place where your soul meets the healer, your weakness meets His strength, and your unrest is exchanged for His peace. It is in this sacred time that God heals in silence, proving that His power does not need noise to be real, only trust to be received. Letting go of anxiety and fear is one of the greatest steps toward healing, especially in the stillness of the night. Many people lie awake not because their bodies are restless, but because their minds won't stop racing. Worry loops through their thoughts. Fear whispers worst-case scenarios, and anxiety builds walls that block peace from entering. The body longs to rest, but the heart is busy carrying burdens it was never meant to bear. God never created us to live under that constant weight of fear and pressure. He designed us to cast our cares upon Him, to release the heavy load before we close our eyes, and to rest knowing He is watching over every detail of our lives. When you hold on to worry, you interrupt the flow of peace that God is trying to pour into your spirit. But when you release it, when you decide that God is bigger than your problem, you make room for His healing to take place. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. One will always drive out the other. Fear says, "What if it doesn't work out?" But faith whispers, "Even if I don't see it yet, God is working." Many times we lose sleep not because God is silent, but because we refuse to be still. The mind wants control, the flesh wants answers, but the spirit just wants peace. It's in that tug of war that many remain restless. Yet when you finally let go, when you breathe out the fear and breathe in the promise of God, You allow your heart to align with heaven's rhythm. That's when healing begins to flow naturally. The same way your body needs physical rest to repair, your soul needs spiritual rest to be restored. Anxiety clogs that process, peace frees it. Before sleep, God invites you to exchange your worries for His presence. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." That's not just a poetic verse. It's a spiritual principle. You cannot hold on to fear and expect to experience peace. You must hand it over. You must speak to your heart and say, "God's got this." When you do, something powerful happens. Your body starts to relax, your breathing slows, and your spirit becomes still. That's when His healing touch begins to work, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Peace becomes the environment in which your body can renew itself. Stress, tension, and anxiety create chaos in the system, but peace restores balance. The night was never meant to be a time of fear. It was meant to be a time of restoration. The same God who watches over the stars watches over you. You don't have to control what tomorrow brings because He's already there. When you trust Him enough to let go, you allow His power to take over. Your faith says, "I'm not going to figure it out tonight. I'm going to rest because I believe He's already working it out." That decision to rest in faith is what opens the door for healing. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the recognition that you were never built to carry fear. You were built to carry faith. The moment you release your worries, you create spiritual space for God to move. Healing doesn't come to the heart that's clenched with fear. It comes to the heart that's open in trust. When you surrender your anxiety at the feet of God, peace flows in like a river. Your sleep becomes deeper. Your body recovers faster and your mind awakens renewed. That's the power of letting go. When fear leaves, healing enters, and the night becomes a meeting place between your faith and God's peace. Waking up renewed is one of the most beautiful signs that God has been working in your life through the night. Every new morning carries a silent testimony of His faithfulness. When you open your eyes after a night of surrender, you are not just waking up from sleep, you are rising from a place of divine restoration. What happens in the stillness of the night is not just physical rest, it is spiritual renewal. God works in those unseen hours, touching your body, calming your thoughts, and refreshing your soul. When you lie down with faith and peace, you allow His presence to do what your effort never could. You may close your eyes with the weight of yesterday on your heart, but when you wake up, that burden has somehow lifted because God has been silently working in your favor. Morning light often carries more than brightness. It carries a fresh start. Each sunrise is a reminder that God has given you another chance to live, love, and walk in purpose. You may not always feel it immediately, but something changes inside you after a night of resting in His presence. The things that once seemed heavy don't feel as strong. The fears that once shouted in your mind grow quiet, and your heart begins to sense peace where there used to be pain. That's what divine renewal feels like. It's subtle yet powerful, quiet yet undeniable. It's as if God pressed a reset button on your spirit while you slept, and now you wake up lighter, clearer, and stronger than before. There's a reason Scripture says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." The night may bring battles, but the morning brings proof that the battle didn't break you. Every morning that you rise is evidence that grace still works. Sometimes healing is not instant. It unfolds while you sleep, layer by layer, moment by moment. God's hand doesn't just mend the body, it renews the soul. The peace you feel when you wake up after truly resting in faith isn't ordinary peace. It's a supernatural calm that only His presence can produce. Waking up renewed also means waking up reconnected to God, to your purpose, and to the strength inside you that may have felt lost. The mind that was tangled in worry the night before becomes clearer. The emotions that were heavy with fear or grief find comfort. Even the physical body responds. Tension eases, breathing becomes steadier, and energy returns. That's what happens when your sleep is touched by the Spirit of God. He doesn't just let you rest. He rebuilds you in that rest. Every morning after such renewal is an invitation to walk differently. It's not just another day. It's a day touched by grace. The peace that met you in the night becomes the strength that carries you through the day. When you wake up renewed, you carry evidence that healing doesn't only happen through prayer or worship. It happens in rest, in stillness, in surrender. God's healing is not always loud or immediate. Sometimes it's gentle and gradual, unfolding as you trust Him night after night. The beauty of waking up renewed is realizing that God was present even when you weren't aware. While you slept, He was defending you, healing you, and speaking peace over your life. You rise not by your own strength, but by His mercy. You rise because He restored you. That renewal is not just physical. It's spiritual proof that your faith has been working even while you rested. Every breath you take in the morning is a whisper from heaven saying, "You are still here because I am still working." When you wake up renewed, it's not just another morning. It's a new beginning crafted by the hands of a faithful God. When you look back at everything we've shared tonight, one truth stands out above all: God heals in silence. While the world sleeps, heaven works. While you rest, His power restores. Healing doesn't always come through thunder and light. Sometimes it comes through stillness, through surrender, through the peace that settles deep inside when you trust that God is enough. The night was never meant to be a place of fear, but a sacred space for transformation. Every breath you take in quiet faith is a seed of healing planted in the garden of your soul. You may not see it growing, but when morning comes, the renewal will speak for itself. The peace you wake up with, the strength you feel in your body, the calm that fills your spirit, that's God's silent testimony that He was working while you slept. So tonight, as you close your eyes, release the weight of the day. Let go of every fear, every anxiety, every thought that tries to follow you into rest. Whisper to your heart that God is in control. He knows your pain. He hears your prayers, and He moves even when you can't see Him. Rest in His presence, knowing that His power is at work within you. Let faith breathe, let peace flow, and let your spirit find comfort in His arms. The same God who created the night uses it as His canvas to paint your healing story. And when you wake up tomorrow, wake up with gratitude, wake up with expectation, wake up knowing that something changed in the night. You are stronger than before, more peaceful than yesterday, and more alive in faith than ever. Healing isn't just what happens to your body. It's what happens inside your heart when you believe that God's love never sleeps. I want to thank you for listening, for opening your heart, and for choosing faith over fear. May tonight be your turning point. The night you let go, the night you rest deeply, the night God heals in silence. I pray peace over your sleep, strength over your tomorrow, and light over your path. May you wake up renewed, restored and ready for everything God has prepared for you. Good luck. God bless you. And thank you for being here tonight.